Now, US jobs growth slowed in January. It remains solid. The reading's the first set of numbers since Donald Trump took office, but probably way too early to have any effect from his announcements. 143,000 jobs were added last month. That's 30,000 shy. And the unemployment rate edged lower to 4%, and most economists expect it to hold steady. One sign of potential concern, the latest revision lowers the number of jobs added last year by nearly 600,000. Julia Pollak is the chief economist at ZipRecruiter and joins me from Los Angeles. Lagging indicators always are the numbers, but taking that lag into account, what do you make of the number?
Well, I think this report is interesting in that it shows the labor market tighten, not something that most economists were expecting to see. But it does show uneven growth, with healthcare remaining the bright spot in the labor market in the US, but other sectors still struggling to add jobs. The other interesting figure here in this report is the shrinking of the work week. Typically, that's a sign of slack. So it's a very mixed report all around.
Okay, now, this mixed report doesn't obviously take into account the shift in the environment. Now, I know that 40,000 federal employees who may or may not take the buyout from the government and 10,000 from USAID, that's small in comparison to the total numbers. But we are seeing a shift in government employment. How would you expect that to transmit itself through the system?
It's an interesting question. Well, government is one of the sectors that has been adding jobs most quickly and unusually quickly over the last 2 years, as it has caught up belatedly following the private sector getting way out ahead and raising wages more quickly during labor shortages. So government has been a bright spot, but it has actually been state and local government that has been driving growth, not the federal government. Here, we are likely to see federal government job losses in the coming months, and you know, the numbers are relatively small compared to the overall labor market. So we're not going to see an aggregate effect, really.
No, but there may not be a direct impact. But what about an indirect impact? And what I'm thinking about is today we got inflationary expectations numbers, and we see the market now expecting higher inflation for all sorts of reasons, related to the new policies. If you take higher inflationary expectations and job worries, do you end up with a difficult situation?
So, you know, the US labor market is huge, but there's no such thing as the labor market. There are millions of different occupation, location specific markets that we as a recruiter called UCLOCs. And federal workers are quite heavily concentrated by geography in the DC, Virginia, Maryland area. They're also concentrated by task and role type in administration and project management and in IT. And so, yes, you will have a situation in those local markets where people struggle to find work and perhaps have to settle for lower wages.
One final point I do want to, since you're also an expert, obviously, on the impact on employment of the undocumented workers. We're seeing now across the board, in New York, where I live, you know, restaurants are closing because they haven't got staff. We're seeing elsewhere farm workers now having difficulty getting workers because the undocumented workers don't want to turn up. At what stage does that, and how will that show itself to us in the overall labour picture, or will it not?
So already immigration has slowed, and as a result, we will likely see these monthly job gain numbers get lower. We also have an aging population. We're in the middle of what's called peak 65, with very large numbers of Americans turning 65, aging out of the labor force and retiring each year. So we should expect to see job gains slow. That said, it doesn't necessarily mean that the labor market will slacken. If unemployment stays low, well, it may not be such a terrible thing. It's sort of hard to know what the overall effect will be of an increase in labor costs.
In very, very tricky times. Thank you. Very grateful and appreciative of your time today. Thank you.